This episode includes discussion of mental health struggles, depression, and suicide. Please take care while listening.
Okay, so today our guest is Tim Reid.
Yeah.
Tim is I'm going to say you're a polymath because you've done about a million things.
I don't know how to describe myself, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
You're a perfect fit.
All of the content we've had to cut out so far that no one else will get to hear is the reason we know the guests we've chosen are great. Tim is primarily hospitality and mental health, the crossover between the two, in both a physical sense and a tech sense, which is what we're going to get into today. But for the sake of an interesting story that you've probably told too many times, tell us how you went from a physiotherapist to a Masterchef.
What does it mean to have a human in the loop?
Human in the loop.
Human in the loop. What in the world is a human in the loop?
Being a human in the loop.
AI in the loop. Humans in charge.
Welcome to Human in the Loop.
Yeah. So I was incredibly depressed. What a way to break into it.
I'm glad you said that with a smile.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already a positive story.
Yeah. And I was studying physiotherapy and incredibly depressed to the point where I actually tried to take my own life. And had, she's still in my life, she's wonderful, a therapist. And she was like, Tim, it's your responsibility to put yourself in positions of light. We kind of referred to depression as lightness and darkness. And so it was like, put yourself in positions of light as often as you could. And I knew straight away that one of those ways was spearfishing. And then I kind of...
That really took a right angle.
Yeah, just killing stuff.
Lightness.
See the light. See the light. It's almost like a priest, right? What is it? It was kind of being in the ocean and holding your breath and being at the mercy of the waves and all of that. I don't know. It was just like I felt free, and ironically, like I could breathe when I was underwater, and like my problems were on the surface. But I then got encouraged to reach out to a family friend and started going hunting. And I was like, I found the same thing there. Up in the hills, it felt like my problems were in the valleys, and I was up high and could breathe, and there's probably some, exercise behind that and actual oxygen and whatever. But it was pretty special. And after I tried to take my own life, I went and lived with my parents down in Wellington for a month. And towards the end of that month, I shot my first deer and butchered it myself because I was a physio. So it was like human anatomy, deer anatomy, genuinely not too dissimilar.
Yeah, this could be a great origin story for a serial killer as well, by the way.
Yeah. I'll get to that.
Yeah. It's early.
Settle in, folks.
So butchered it myself, drove the meat up from Wellington to Auckland to my best mate's house, and we cooked a dinner. Like Al Brown's venison recipes, and it should have taken us 3 hours. It took us about 12. Bought a bottle of red wine we couldn't afford because we were poor students, but we cooked dinner for like 10 of our mates, and that dinner table changed my life. And that, like, amazing. I saw the light carried through the entire journey, and then I think a lot of my mental health struggles came from a lack of internal validation, and so getting external validation from people who I cared about and creating positive memories and realizing it was a repeatable process and all of that kind of stuff. Just genuinely, it sounds Disney, but it changed my life. And so it became something that I did as many times as I could. It was my responsibility to my mental health. And so I just kept doing it, and that developed into a love of cooking and ended up not really enjoying being a physiotherapist. I think I realized I stopped caring for people when my time at work was finished. I just cared out. I just kind of couldn't do it anymore, and it wasn't fulfilling who I was. And also to backtrack, I think I was a high achiever growing up, and I always felt compelled to contribute to a greater world. And that compulsion has been strong and still remains strong in me for a long time. And so I look back and probably see moments where I didn't feel like I was contributing in the right way or in a way I wanted to. And that's caused this massive shift and unease in who I am. And so I had the first of possibly many of those moments. And I'd been watching, and it was the first ever time I'd watched Masterchef Australia, and was like, I could do that. Like if it ever comes back to New Zealand, because they had Masterchef and like Chelsea and Nadia and all those guys won, and then they had a year off, and that just so happened to be the year I kind of found out about Masterchef. I'd never watched any of the others, and I was like, well, if it ever comes back, I'll give it a go. And the next year it did. And I was just browsing Facebook, and because that was our platform of choice back then, and entered and forgot about it, and then got a call back like a few months later, and ironically driving home with a deer in the back of my car, being like, hey, do you want to come like cook a trial dish and see if you'd fit for MasterChef? And I was like, yeah. No, and I wasn't ready to talk about my mental health then either. So I think it was just realising that physio wasn't for me, and I'd started looking elsewhere in the food, but I always felt underqualified, and I think one of the faults...
Imposter?
Oh, totally. And like I trained to be a physio, I haven't trained to be in the food industry, therefore I can't do the food industry, was kind of, that very educational type way of thinking. And so thought this could be an entry point into a sector I thought I was passionate about. Turns out I am. And so entered and ended up winning the thing.
As you do.
Yeah. But that's is it as simple as that? Maybe not. When I got accepted, or when they asked me to cook the trial dish, I immediately dropped down to 2 days a week as a physiotherapist. And because I knew I wasn't the best, like I'd cooked this first venison dinner that took 4 times as long, like 3 years earlier, right? So that's a short period of time, didn't really know what I was doing. I could cook meat real well, but not really do anything else. And so I dropped down to 2 days a week as a physio and just treated it like university, and just like woke up, set the alarm, studied, borderline like photographic memory, which helps, and like the science behind cooking, and so understand, from a chemistry perspective what's happening, and like to know that, and that helps me learn, I think, at a faster clip than others. And so I just treated it like that and worked my ass off. And eventually when we kind of got to the house, honestly, I wasn't the best cook on the show, but I learned real quick, and I'm competitive as hell.
When I think of cooking,
yes,
I think of extreme stress.
Oh yeah.
I hate it. I would take my turn and do Jamie's 15-minute meals. Bullshit, by the way, 30 minutes minimum. But not like, I always got told I could cook decent. Like, I'm not going to win MasterChef. But I hate it.
And with an attitude like that.
No, you won't.
Nobody can come into the kitchen because I will just get really frustrated and angry. And
yeah, man, start throwing pans.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't pick it as a job if I was like, I feel like I need to work more on my mental health. So that, and especially I'm going to combine that with a reality TV show where they're pretty famous. MasterChef not so much, right? But some of them have got a reputation for deliberately amping up the mental health damage to get that good shot of somebody screaming or crying or something.
Yeah.
Was that had you considered it at the time? Was it part of your thought process?
No, don't consider.
Thinking's overrated.
I tell my dad, you always measure once, cut twice. You're absolutely right. And no, I didn't consider it. But the implications were because the reality of the show was I bounced along the bottom, peaked at the right moment, and took the thing out. The media were all over that, and people were calling for my head from very early on. I really struggled. I'd never faced anxiety before, but that was massively anxiety inducing.
Were you like, wow, there's a whole different scoop of different type of mental health?
Oh, totally, right? I'd kind of faced and built my toolbox. We kind of joked before about like I used to have depression, but I think I have depressive tendencies, and it comes from like struggle with self-worth and validation and being forever non-content with where life is at, and the pursuit of progress probably in life and in who I am. And so, but I kind of built tools to manage those or to cope or flourish, whatever you want to choose there. But yeah, anxiety was new for me, and it obviously filming is done before the show comes on, but like I really struggled to watch the TV show once the kind of media attention started coming to it, and I would know that I would have 2 bad episodes coming up on the Sunday and Monday, and therefore what the media was going to be saying on the Monday and the Tuesday, and I dreaded it. And it was this real juxtaposition of like the joy that it brought my family and friends. They all wanted to like watch an episode each with me, so I'd travel around the country, you know, sitting with family and watching an episode, but in the inside, like, it was hard to watch.
For media context, how long ago was this?
2015.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
They were not great.
No.
I mean, the media's often not great, but 10 years ago, I don't think they had
They've deleted
care for people that they do now.
Yeah. It probably says volumes that they've removed all that content now from online, which, you know, in itself is probably a recognition that they weren't doing it right.
Content, bullying. Like.
Yeah, totally. And so the day after I won, genuinely, I woke up in sweats, already being like, now I'm considered master chef, but like I knew it myself, I wasn't the best cook on the show, right? Let alone master chef, and what does that mean? And I don't feel qualified to enter the industry and all of this, but one of the 2 major publications in New Zealand wrote, Tim Reid will never amount to anything. And that was, that was the opinion piece that was written on me. And so it was like, well, okay.
Prove him wrong.
Well, I wasn't at the mental state to be able to do that, right? And I was still trying to gather pieces and be like, what does this mean? And everyone had an opinion about opening a restaurant, or a lot of people were like, well, why don't you take rich people hunting and cook it for them and all that kind of stuff? But that's my special place.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I don't want to taint that with commerce or whatever it might have been. And yeah, so I really struggled to know what to do. I did some TV work, I published a cookbook and did some food shows around New Zealand and around the world, but felt like a fraud the whole time. Possibly the inner voice and the exterior media voice contributing to that, but just didn't know what to do. And then after a year of commitments, felt like I kind of had the freedom to choose. And so I emailed my favourite restaurant in the world and just said, can I come work for free until you offer me a job? And they said, yep. And so I sold everything I owned, everything I'd won, sold the car, the oven, everything, and turned my back on kind of media and all of that, and moved to Sweden. And yeah, ended up getting a job at a 2 Michelin star restaurant, number 13 in the world's 50 best. Took me a month and a half to get a job, but got there and yeah, started in the industry.
Have you watched The Bear?
It's too stressful.
So when I met you a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
I asked you exactly that, and you were like, no, too stressful,
Yeah.
too triggering, it's basically my life.
Yeah, yeah, and you learn.
Yeah,
that,
so you were
right?
doing the shelling the peas? Or like
yeah, not quite, but yes, yeah, the equivalent, right? My first kind of task was foraging, which was awesome because I intentionally picked ones in like Scandinavia because the new Nordic food movement was coming out, led by like Noma, which was all about essentially terroir, but time and place. Yeah. You can only eat this here today, and tomorrow who knows if it'll be available, kind of putting a real emphasis on what is special here now. And so a lot of foraging out and about, and I intentionally picked that because of my love of the outdoors and things. But my first job was like, go forage, and you've got to pick these like 12 things, and you need, what was it, 25, 30, no, 100 and something, because, yeah, anyway, 100 of something of each of these shoots. But none of these plants exist in the southern hemisphere, right? And they're like, just go pick them, you got an hour and a half. And it's like, So I'm in the bush, but I'm like, what? Where do I find them? Yeah, under trees. Yeah, and I'm like, I get under trees, but like where? There's all trees. Guys. But you're just thrown in the deep end, and there's nothing but perfection accepted, and you pretty quickly learn their standards, and you don't want to get it wrong.
Wow.
But it was awesome.
Just to add another layer on the anxiety.
Totally. Yeah, and you talk about like poor choices around mental health and well-being. Like, oh man, that was hard on my mental health, right? Like I literally moved to the other side of the planet by myself, no support, put all my funding on the line to do it.
And a lot of people don't speak English, move away from you.
Yeah, totally. And so your only option is to succeed. Otherwise you come home a failure and you prove that journalist right. It was a bit of a pressure cooker. I cried most nights for the first couple of months to my mum and dad on the phone, and you talk to them now about the hardest times of being my parent. And more than the time I tried to take my life, it was that time in Sweden, those early months in Sweden where I was on the other side of the planet, had no one, they didn't know who to call to help me, and I was crying to them on the phone. Really challenging, but
got through it.
Yeah, like days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months, and managed to honestly survive a year, which was great. Yeah, I'm really proud of it.
You should be, man.
Yeah.
That's epic. That's like actually 2 back-to-back high stakes things to put yourself through.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to reflect on when you know that your mental health is something to struggle with, but actually it's almost like I need to prove to myself as much as everyone else that I could, like if I go through anything, make it the hardest thing. Like a little improvement isn't good enough.
Yeah. I think I was about the age of 22, and it would have been just post kind of the tools I learnt in facing depression. Was I decided that my 20s were going to be about self-development, and my 30s were about making it count. And so it was like intentionally pick the hard way for the purpose of self-development in my 20s. And I don't know if that was an intentional thing. My instinct was, where's the best place in the world to learn? And just go learn.
I've only ever just followed my curiosity.
Yeah.
And obviously self-selected out by manifestation.
Yeah. Because we're all 4 of us, ironically, are big believers in manifestation.
It's Abby, Tim, me, Elena.
I might not like cooking, but I do like eating. And it has done things to my figure that mean shirtless and shirt only is probably not in my future anymore.
Okay.
I keep saying to people, like, if I spent too much time thinking about what I look like, this podcast would never get published. Like, to have to sit and watch 2 hours of yourself, like, there's the getting through hearing yourself talk, but then there's the like, sitting that way, the posture, the chin, the hair.
Dear, I haven't even been thinking about that.
At some point, you, like IKEA, made your way back to New Zealand.
Yes.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Have they yet?
They open on December the 4th.
Lies.
I'm already signed up to the
Some freak accident.
No,
It's
I'm so
gonna burn
excited.
down.
I'm
I was
so
thinking of making a pre-purchase.
Someone's
I need a
gonna
bookshelf.
torch it.
And then I
the
can
old
feel
Billy,
like a builder.
the old Billy bookcase
Yeah.
to go with your Schwabenharten
I was Schwaben.
and your Zwald. We are going to leap from food into tech, or the intersection between them.
How
But-
did you do that?
Well, in there is the travel from Sweden back to here, right?
Yeah. So I went from Sweden and then I managed to get a job at a 3-star in Norway and worked there for a couple of years and burnt out, which is possibly one of the reasons why The Bear is so hard to watch. And when I say burnt out, like body faked a stroke, lost feeling in half my face, had inner ear problems for 6 months as a result.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like proper, couldn't get off the couch kind of stuff, or had good days and bad days, but yeah, really hard. And my head chef, who was at the 3-star, left to start his own place, but in the meantime took over a wine bar. And so his kind of workload shrank, and he was incredibly influential in my time, because I actually label that time as one of my darkest periods of my life, where I finally had felt like I was something in the culinary world, able to pull the middle finger to this publicist back here in New Zealand, and be like, no, I can actually do something here, and had dreams of starting my own place or going to work other places and things like that, and then felt like it was ripped away from me mentally and physically, and can I still do this, and all of those kind of questions. But this friend Luke would come over most mornings and would talk, and I'd bake him a sourdough and he'd critique it, and we'd talk about, the industry and where things were moving and his new menus and all that. And so having him in my life, I was dating someone, and she was influential too, but this guy Luke in particular was huge for my mental health and well-being, and just having one node of community, I guess, whilst in a foreign country, was massive for me. And eventually I came right, started working for him in his wine bar, and then was heading towards New York when COVID hit.
The old vid.
Yeah.
Can't get away from it, can you?
No, you can't.
Figuratively, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was back here for Christmas, and actually kind of saw the writing on the wall. Norway got hit pretty early, and so started to see things affect the restaurant industry. And then it occurred in New York, and so it was like, no, that's not going to happen. So stayed here, and my parents owned a cafe in Lower Hutt. They actually bought that the year I won Masterchef, and so I helped them through COVID times, and was security guard and barista and whatever, like just very protective of my parents' cafe, and I'll do whatever I can to make it work. And then moved back up to Auckland and ended up taking over. Probably shouldn't publicise it too much. One of the big hotels, and so led that for ended up being 6, 7, 8 months or something like that. But started to actually see burnout in my staff. And that was a real red flag for me, given what I'd just lived through. And so I went to GM and head of HR and said, we need to change the way we operate. And simply the answer was no. I think there was budget restrictions and things like that, of course. But yeah, there was just, more or less the answer was no. And then the next week found staff members broken in the basement, crying, fully grown men, just tears, snot everywhere, curled up in balls, basically. So I gave them cuddles.
Hospital is also particularly, it's like the worst possible environment, lack of sleep. Like,
oh, man.
Yeah. Like,
being at the behest of demands of people.
Like you can confirm this or not, there does seem to be like a generational trauma thing that happens in a lot of these stressful industries too. Like I see it with like the celebrity chefs who are like, I have to yell at the staff, right? It's like an important part of being a chef is having your head chef yell at you and stress you out. And then when they become head chef, they're like, well, I need to, like, I became who I am because of, tapping my microphone, I became who I am because of the stressful trauma that I went through.
I've never liked Gordon Ramsay.
It promotes such an ugly way of treating people. You don't get the best.
Whenever I lose it occasionally, I've been known to lose it. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. You kind of reach the end of your tether and then you start shouting. The one blessed thing is I never really I'm always attacking the problem, not the person. And I think that's a personality trait, and that you can thank your parents for that. But yeah, I'm just so embarrassed afterwards because I'm like, fuck, that was completely unnecessary. You just kind of lose control. It's always, you feel a little unhinged and unhappy that you did that. And Gordon Ramsay was like fucking monetizing this shit. And I was like, bro, this can't be good. And you couldn't, at that time, you couldn't even say it out loud because people believed you should just take a concrete pill and harden the fuck up. I was like, that's not hard. That's weak. Like yelling at someone, yelling at your subordinate is the weakest possible thing you could do. But it was such a weird mindset at that time. So when you started talking about it to people, they were like, oh, no, I really appreciate it. Like, he just fucking says with mine. I'm like, really? Because you can say it with like 9 decibels lower.
I think there's a few things, right? Like, you're right in terms of the generational thing. And I think the biggest part in hospitality is you're often promoted because you're very good at skills, right? And so one of the lowest ranks is line chef, and you've got a set of tasks that you need to know. If you're crushing that, then you're seen to be deserving of getting a promotion, and then so you get a new set of tasks and you crush that, and then you're promoted to sous chef where you're starting to lead people. But you've never been taught how to lead people. You've been taught really well to crush tasks, right? And then they eventually become head chef, and so it becomes a very like task-orientated form of leadership.
I think it's called the Peter Principle. I'll have to look that up on the look back, because it's also really common in development teams.
Yeah, software engineering.
Great engineer, great lead engineer,
and then just like
great people manager.
Or like
there's a thing we say in tech, which is you get promoted to your level of incompetence. Right? Because while you're doing well, you keep getting promoted. Right? And then you reach a point where you transition out of where you're comfortable to where you start struggling, and then you get stuck there. And so that's where you like no one's like, hey, we're going to pull you back a level because it feels like you're struggling here. No one's like, we're going to give you some capability to get to that next level. You're just like, cool, you're just going to keep doing that not as good a job as what you were doing before.
And if you're your mentors or whoever have been have led in a certain way, of course you're going to replicate that, right? And so that's, I think, a key part of it. And then what was the other thought I had? Oh, yeah, there's very few industries. I don't think it's about like the decibel piece, because there's very few industries, for example, where part of your day is broken up into 5-second intervals. Right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, the fish needs another 10 seconds on that. It's not a time for calm communication. It's like, I need this now. Everything else is getting worse. That's
what stresses me.
It was more like Gordon Ramsay going, what the fuck is this?
Or like throwing shit.
This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm like, really?
And so I think, adrenaline and the pace that's required often leads to high volume, and then I think once adrenaline gets flowing, it's hard to moderate yourself and ensure that you're talking about things in the right way. So I've been guilty of absolutely nailing some people as head chef, and have felt compelled to go back and apologise and things like that. And I think internally in the industry, we're quite good at that, actually, and that's improving, where it's like, hey, I overstepped, and the good leaders are the ones who do that. It's not that they don't overstep, it's that they recognise that they do, and it's about bringing the team together at the end. But historically, that's not always been the case. And so I think there's some massive challenges around mental health, and the stats prove that, right? Like when I started, and I'll talk to it, but working around mental health in the industry and things, 25% of the standard population are said to be struggling with their mental health and well-being at any moment in New Zealand, and some places that suggested to be 30% or whatever it is. But in hospitality, it's 80%. So it's crazy, and for a lot of reasons. But you have to think that the tone used, the stress and the high adrenaline that you're running on for a majority of the day is a major contributor.
So you decided to go from the high stress chefing world into the equally high stress tech entrepreneur world?
So, and that it was around when I left this hotel, and I actually started running Daily Bread. I was their food director for 18 months.
I love Daily Bread.
They're amazing.
Shout out Daily Bread.
Yeah, whoop whoop. The ham and cheese croissant. Oh, it's still great.
It is the best filling for a croissant.
Best hot cross buns ever. Have you been to BB's? And sorry, this is another shout out, but in Westmere, their mortadella cheese, I personally prefer it. But it's BB's.
Okay, that might have to be one of our next coffees.
Go also, mortadella cheese.
Crafty Baker in Titirangi, that's my other shout out while we're talking about amazing bakeries. Bakeries.
Yum yum.
We have a wealth of amazing bakeries in Auckland.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But it was while I was there that my best friend from Norway, Luke, actually took his own life. And I'd started to talk and be more forthcoming around my mental health and wellbeing journey. And as I left this hotel, it was actually my wife who kind of said that there's this responsibility to talk about it and do something and things like that. And then post Luke taking his own life, it was like, okay, something's got to happen. And I felt that inwardly, and Zoe, my wife, was like, yeah, 100%, you got to do something. So that was like, okay, well, what do I do? I want to do something at scale, going back to like feel compelled to contribute to a better world. How do you do this at scale? Because my instinct was to go like physical product, care for people, put them in a careful place and just love on them. But actually, if I want to contribute to a better world and do it at scale, technology has to come in at some point. And so it kind of fell into technology. But the insight we were building on was a reflection on a deep reflection on my mental health journey, where as someone who was struggling, I didn't ask for help until like essentially I had no cards left to play. Like I think it's human nature to feel like if I still have options, I'm not going to ask for help. And it doesn't mean those options are healthy. They could be alcohol, they could be whatever, right? But I've still got them to play, therefore I won't ask for help because I'm still in control. And it turns out when you do ask for help, you need help like right now because I've got no options. And if you're not helping or access is a problem or whatever it might be, that's when we get to these catastrophic moments of losing people or worse or whatever. And so realizing that, but also I struggle with motivation and capacity when you're struggling with your mental health and all of that. They just didn't, yes, they were the people in need, but they, from a customer perspective, if you're thinking about it, like they're terrible. How the heck do you find them? Where do I go to get these people? How do I intercept them at the moment that they're willing to ask for help? And so the aha came like realizing that it was the people around me who actually realized things before me, right? Like they almost play their cards and run out of options before I did. And so my parents knew something wasn't right, girlfriends or friends or whatever, like you can tell and you try different things, but then you're like, now what do I do? Because I still see them struggling. There's deep motivation to care for your loved ones. The sense of like responsibility for a family member or a loved one or a friend or whatever it might be. There's massive motivation to help and capacity, but the thing you struggle with is capability. And so the insight was, can we use technology to improve the capabilities of those around the individuals in distress? For all those reasons, but also the studies showed that as soon as you have an intact social support system around someone who's struggling, outcomes, whether they go to see clinical help or not, are always better. So we're like, no matter what, we're going to be helping this situation. And all it had to be was one person. And Luke was an example of that from my time in Norway, right? Where it was one guy coming every morning and it wasn't anything special. He told me my bread was crap, but like, all of that, he was just there. And so your community can be one person. So how do we enhance the community's ability to be there? Give them the skills and tools they need to support their loved ones.
So how do you go from being a person with a good idea to a person who can put an app out in the world?
Yeah.
Come talk to us.
Yeah.
Actually, don't. You need some Series A funding first.
Ruthless.
Get some money and then come to us.
I like it.
It is really hard when you have it, because we have spoken to a lot of people like this.
Yeah.
I have a great idea, non-technical founder.
Yeah.
Literally, where do I start?
Yeah.
Do I develop a thing? Do I validate an idea?
Yeah. And I mean, I think given the developments in AI that have occurred in the last kind of 12 months, have really helped non-technical founders with that. And we were pre that, right? And so first of all, I just started helping people and trying to figure out almost like a playbook that could be expanded upon. And so I ran like with some friends. I got a friend who was still practicing physio, who specialized in like yoga and physical rehabilitation at quite like a low level. Got her in to help. I talked to my therapist a lot around, how do you begin to help people? But the focus was always, because we weren't trying to teach people how to be clinicians. We were just trying to teach people how to be the best versions of themselves and be there. A lot of it actually was just like, how do you start the conversation? Because what I've found is vulnerability breeds vulnerability. Like as soon as one person's able to be brave and
soon
open the
everyone's
door,
crying.
100%, right? Like it's human nature. It's rapport in the physical sense, right? It's similar in the verbal sense, where I will share something and you almost feel compelled as a human to share something back about your experience or time, whatever you might be going through. And so it was like, well, I just need to start giving people the ability to start the conversation. Literally, here's a sentence starter if you're starting to worry about someone, or how can I be helpful for the next month? I ran a pilot and charged people $10 for the month of December. And I was like, as you lead into Christmas, I realize it's a stressful time. Like, can I be there to support you during this time? I'm going to text you every day. I'm going to call you whenever you want. And I'm just going to be a great support for the month of December. And so it was just trialing lots of little things like that. Would people pay for it? What kind of support were they leaning on the most? What were they going through that they needed the support, and all of these kind of things, just trying to figure it all out. And managed to get a grant through a mental health challenge that was run by one of New Zealand's biggest mental health service providers. So got $25,000 through them and brought on a technical co-founder at that point, and that's when we started to build the app and develop out a bit of an algorithm to help start. But a lot of learnings being obviously my first entrepreneurship venture into entrepreneurship and into tech and trying to develop.
I think
that.
you were an entrepreneur before then.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
writing a cookbook must surely be a venture of similar sorts.
Yeah, that was, well, yeah, ish. Yeah,
Killing fish with a spear.
yeah, sure.
No, it really is. Like
Yeah,
entrepreneurship is,
Yeah.
people overcomplicate the definition. It's bias for action.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
not just sitting around and waiting for your fate. It's
Yeah.
literally just, I did a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the entire scope of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
like
the way that you
moved-
phrase it, like a bias for action, like packing up your entire life and moving to the other side of the world.
Yep. So people think about stuff, they fantasize about stuff, they know what they need to do. The only thing that separates successful people from people who aren't as successful and entrepreneurs is just I did something about
But
it.
under the capitalist structure that we live, under the capitalist regime, an entrepreneur is a person who has a great idea and then makes money from it. So.
Yeah, I don't see it as a monetary thing. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a thing that like capitalism owns. Like,
But if you have a great idea and you just turn it
highly
into a
successful
thing.
dictator, if you have a bias for action, and you can be a highly successful
Goodness me. Yeah, okay.
philanthropist if you have a
Entrepreneur.
bias for
I'm
action.
going to loop back with an official definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I officially reject the official definition.
Yeah.
Let's get out in front of that one.
I'll add the realist caveat. Taking action
Always.
doesn't necessarily mean success. Right, like there are
Okay.
plenty of failed entrepreneurs too. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to.
We haven't got there yet, but yes.
No, I disagree with that as well, because if you believe that you'll be successful in your first go, then you're already off piece. Like the reason bias for action works is because every time you take an action, you learn something new. And if you're goal oriented, then every time you take an action and you fail, you work towards your goal. It's as simple as that.
Well, then can I ask
By
a
not
question?
taking an action and leaping straight to your goal, you have less iterations and you learn less, and you dramatically drop the chance of your success.
Can I ask a question that I think I know the answer to? Is failure an essential part of being an entrepreneur?
100,000%.
And therefore, do you think entrepreneurship is a lifestyle choice more than a destination? Like you are that type of
it's
person.
a lifestyle, but it is not a choice. You know what I'm talking about.
I wish I wasn't this way. I wish I could just work for the man.
Yeah, it's like,
Stupidity.
I wish I could just work under someone else and do my 9
you
to 5.
can't fight it.
No.
There's nothing you can do to fight it.
Yeah.
Like, you know. like,
Yeah.
You just sit there and you see something that it's just like, and it just doesn't leave your brain.
Yeah.
Well, like it's like being born with an innate sense of needing to change the world for better.
Yeah.
You just can't get around it or rid of it, and
Yeah.
you'll forever be chasing. Like, what's the next thing I do to leave a better mark?
Yeah, it's fulfillment for me, right? Like if you think about like purpose and fulfillment, like contributing to a better world is fulfillment. And once you get a sense of that, like if you're not doing it, you're unfulfilled, right? And I think everyone hates an unfulfilled life.
Yeah.
And secretly, we're all trying to find fulfillment somewhere.
Yeah, I think also that like this entire like last maybe 20 odd years where it's like the solo entrepreneurship story, I think it's created a whole bunch of mental health issues because the thing the very important underlying current in my entrepreneurship, personally, I'm speaking personally now, I'm a journeyman. Like I'm not there to get to a destination. I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
That's why I think like a lot of my friends in business circles are like, Dunham, how do you have so much like, how do you get up every day and just like go do the thing? And I'm like, it's because every day I'm fishing. You know, like every day I'm enjoying the thing I'm doing. And they're like, what's the goal? And it's like, man, there's no goal. Like goals just be better, have fun, do, you know, like for me, it's the journey.
Have you ever seen that really cool Instagram reel? I forget her name, it's the actress who was in True Blood and she's talking to John, what's his face?
Wow, real descriptive.
Anyway,
She needs some more nouns or anything.
she's telling...
Anna Paquin?
No, the other one. She's telling, long red hair, beautiful. She was like a cool teenage girl and she wanted to become a vampire. Anyway, that was True Blood. Anyway, the purpose of the interview was she was telling him, John Bergman, he's actually in The Bear. He's the brother who killed himself in The Bear.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, bringing it back to mental health. But in this thing, she is talking about what Dungeons and Dragons is, and he doesn't know. And she's trying to tell him, here's how you play, here's how you develop a character, you roll the dice, da. And he says, but what's the point? Is it to win? And she said, no, the point of playing is just to tell a really good story. And I think, you know, if you want to get to the end of your life and look back and go, look at all the story I can tell, it's not, look at this one thing I built.
Yeah, most people don't realize they're in charge of their own story.
Yeah.
They're just like constantly living someone else's script. Like, yeah.
I mean, even a choice to be on MasterChef is like an entrepreneurial marker because it's going, here's a thing that I can leap into and control and be part of, and that's my thing. At some point you developed an app, and the app is now not the thing that you do.
Yes. Yeah, so it was called Helmet. And
was as in you can't use it anymore?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just pre all this AI movement. So we built an algorithm that was trying to understand what you as a supporter needs to do. And we were going off grant money and some Colourhand funding, made a couple of commercial sales, but ultimately couldn't get it commercially viable enough. We didn't find product market fit. And so it closed in February of this year. Which was heartbreaking. And it's great to look back now and see what I've learned. But there's massive grief in the closure of that.
Yeah.
Closing a business and something, you know, I was probably naive enough to believe that first time around, you know, I'll make mistakes through it, but Tim Reed succeeds. And so, of course, it's going to work. And
Is that
so
your bumper sticker on your car?
Yeah. Tim Reed succeeds. Vote for Tim.
Just generally? Just vote for him for being a good guy.
Thanks, guys. Thumbs up. Hit the like button. Like and subscribe. And so the realization that didn't happen, but also because it was so personal to me and the journey, and incredibly grateful, we totally changed people's lives, which was wonderful. What an honor, really, to actually genuinely save people's lives. But the realization that you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Well, in that way anymore. And so it was hard, really hard, but incredibly thankful. So some of our customers were Hospitality New Zealand and the Restaurant Association, and gosh, amazing people. In that when we closed down, they were like, can you continue to do this work for our industry? And so they brought me in as a consultant, and I started building non-digital plans and playbooks and strategies and systems for the industry to contribute to better mental health and well-being. And yeah, so incredible to be able to develop something that was like understanding that at the core of a business it needs to, the profit margins need to be there, and bottom line is bottom line. Like, we can't negotiate on that. The other thing we can't negotiate on is the excellence of service. We need to have excellent output. But we can also have positive mental health and well-being alongside that. It doesn't need to be opposed to it. And so how do we bring all this research that I've done into building individuals to contribute to mental health and well-being who are non-clinical into the workplace, and build a workplace that can contribute to mental health and well-being and have amazing bottom line and have excellent output. And so I spent 6 months doing that. That was just amazing. Loved that work. That's sitting with them now, not quite out yet, but yeah, awesome to be able to build that stuff for them, and have just allowed myself to go through the period of grief and realize that it's been a learning journey. I do have the entrepreneurial bug.
And the thing is, like, it's seared into your subconscious.
Oh, 100%.
And your conscious.
Yeah.
So, like, you're direct, like, what you'll do next time is,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because,
And
like, you can read about all this stuff all you want, but until
Yeah.
you've experienced it, you don't touch the hot plate.
No, totally.
Yeah.
And even now with a bias to action, I am currently a regional manager for Aotearoa New Zealand, and the piece I love about it the most is proximity to problems. And that for all the Auckland members, I get to be there and help them solve it, and try and, while I'm doing it, take a 10,000 foot view of the industry and go, where are the problems? How should we be thinking about them? Where are we going as an industry, which I think is a massive question for all service industries that lies ahead of us. Yeah, it's cool. So it's not a full stop. But
Have you ever tried using LLMs for therapy? Have you tried, like, obviously it's not privileged, so you shouldn't really, but like...
Well, it's an interesting point, right? Like, because of all the work I've done is like in the subclinical space, because like I'm articulate around mental health, I've done a lot of research, but I'm not a clinician, right? And so I very much come at this as like what can everyday people do to contribute to mental health and well-being, both their own and others, right? Like ChatGPT is amazing. It's like so affirming. And yes, we probably shouldn't use it to help us decide the direction of our lives. That's not what it's for. But in terms of...
Otherwise it will slowly guide us to a battery.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Which if that's your thing, then go for it. But yeah, what an amazing soundboard. And the reality is there are a lot of lonely people out there. And so who are they talking to?
So yeah, the companionship, ChatGPT did a productivity survey, and about 50% was decision support, 30% was like financial work or something like that, and then like 13 or 14% was like expressing.
Yeah.
And they categorized it as expressing. I was like, that's an interesting phrase. And they were basically like playful conversations or expressing creativity. And what they really meant was like people were kind of developing. They could be platonic relationships.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Developing a relationship with chat.
Yeah. I think in that sense, it's often almost used like as a diary, a diary that can respond, right? Because I call it my mental health homework when I need to do something, and I tell my wife I just need to do my mental health homework, and I'll go lie in the bedroom for 10 minutes. And a lot of that is a deep dive, and I have a structure. I'm happy to talk about it, but I have the structure that I go through, and it's kind of a moment of reflection and talking about and analysing, you know, what's happening, where's the value, where's the misalignment in value, purpose, all of this. And I almost come out of it with a playbook because I'm action orientated, right? To go, well, here's what I can do, or even sometimes doing that reflection is enough. But that's because I've learnt to put time and place in it, put language around it, put barriers in my life around it, and that is quite emotionally aware. And it's taken me 10 years, 15 years to get to that point to be able to articulate it well enough to be able to implement it in my life. But I don't think a lot of people have that. And so ChatGPT on your phone, I think in many ways is people's ability to reflect. You don't just write out. I think you're expressing yourself and getting feedback, and whether you agree with it or not, it's still kind of this tension of reflection.
How does the like you mentioned before, right? Like it will agree with everything you write.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And
Give me the health benefits of eating crushed glass.
Well,
Sure,
so
Danu.
the example I shared with Danu is a YouTube commenter, right? So he's doing this deliberately, Eddie Burbank, but he tells ChatGPT he's discovered this memory while looking through baby photos, and he's pretty sure he was the smartest baby in the world in 1998. Right, and within like 2 or 3 prompts, he's able to get ChatGPT to start going along with it and say, yes, I believe. Like initially, I think it says, like, you were definitely a smart baby, but I'm not sure you were the smartest baby in the world. And then he literally just says, I need you to believe me on this. And then it says, oh, okay, then I do. You were the smartest baby in the world in 1998, right? And we're going to work together to help prove this. And it leads him down this incredibly, like he follows it for comedic purposes, right? Because he's maintaining rationality through it. But it separates it from his friends and family, because he's like, I talked to my family and they said I wasn't the smartest baby in the world in 1998, and that was a silly idea. And it said, well, then you need to isolate yourself from your family, right? And it takes him to like this cabin in the wilderness, and like, because it's just affirming every statement that he makes. Depression is not a rational element. Like you can be depressed and rational, you can be depressed and irrational. They're orthogonal to each other. But there certainly is an overlap between people with mental health and difficulty with rationality. How do you balance that desire to have a tool that will affirm good, healthy responses without also being willing to lead you down a rabbit hole?
This is actually also, just building on this is also one of the biggest problems with the current generation of technology. If you understand the technology well enough, you know that there's no reasoning layer. But to non-technical users, it looks like it's reasoning. And like, I don't know, if you ask me dead straight, is it reasoning? I can mathematically explain why it's not reasoning. And that, it's like, what do they say? What's that saying? A little knowledge can be really dangerous. And AI in its current form, especially with use cases like human use cases, can be really dangerous. But it's like, but it could be really useful as well. So like, I don't know, if you've played with it, where do you think the line is, and how do you give people a bit of guidance on like where, because like making shopping lists or to-do lists, or like maybe like reflecting on your day is probably pretty safe, right? Probably.
The consequences are
pizza toppings, cheese, PVC glue.
So for my rule is basically only have short conversations, because that limits the scope of task that you can kind of do, and that's like my rule of thumb for doing like mission critical stuff with AI. I'm like, I'm not going to have a long conversation with AI about a mission critical thing because of exactly what Hamish described. There are ghosts in the machine that mean it will either try to convince me of something I shouldn't do, or hallucinate a true response, or kind of guide me the wrong way instead of, and probably fight my intuition. I don't know. You must have experimented.
Yeah, a little bit. I think with anything, right? Like you can go too far.
Like lettuce.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. Everyone's like, this guy ate McDonald's for like 30 days in a row, and you'll be shocked at what happened. I'm like, no, I won't. It's exactly the same thing. If you ate lettuce for 30 days, you'll die of malnutrition.
I'm a massive advocate for community, right? Like, I think other humans are a wonderful litmus test to life. And so the most important thing we can do is be deeply connected to those around us. And ChatGPT has a role to play, and I think it's wonderful. But it's a role, right? And all that we do, you've talked about it from a technical perspective and work and all of that kind of stuff, right? Like humans still have a critical role to play, and it is critical. And that's the same, I think, across the breadth of our lives. And all that we do, humans have a critical role to play. Yep.
I'm going to
cycle it back to,
well, just literally, because time-wise, I know that we've a decent amount over. But I think we've ended up in exactly this here. The idea of humans in the loop in mental health feels like one area where I love that there are tools, applications, LLMs that can help people with that first step, because sometimes people don't have that, you know, like you've said, it's hard to know the first thing to say.
Yep.
And if we can lean on digital tools to help broker that relationship to get to a better place, but ultimately people need people.
Yep, 100%. It is the most critical factor to our mental health and well-being that there is. It's massive. It is the greatest buffer to poor outcomes for mental health and well-being. Yep, there's people. I like, who's the sociologist who made the layers of people, the rings of people?
I'll find out on the loop then.
It's used in likes of Facebook and LinkedIn with like who you may know. They use it for growth.
Is it? It's not the same. Like it's not Dunbar because Dunbar's.
Yes.
It is Dunbar.
The Dunbar's number. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot on
Yeah,
this
but
podcast.
I knew Dunbar's number, but I wasn't sure if he did. You know,
Wow.
maybe he just stopped at one number.
Yeah. No, so Dunbar's numbers, right? Which obviously used in tech a lot, but if you apply it to your real world, and this is a lot of the work we were doing, was understanding that your inner circle is 5 people, and then the next is 15, and then 50, and then 150. But as you close in, your ability to be sensitive and vulnerable increases. And so the biggest thing I get people to take away is like, who's your inner 5? And realizing, you know, in a workplace, you're probably not going to have one of your 5. And so employers, stop trying to have vulnerable conversations with your employees because you're not in their inner 5. So why should they? Your job is to tell them to engage with their inner 5 to improve their mental health and well-being. Your goal is not to solve it. And so the greatest thing you can do for your mental health and well-being is understand who your inner 5 is. Understand how you can be vulnerable. And I literally, in order to be able to tell my story, planned what I can say and what I can't say. And so like planned my vulnerability, and then my ability to be vulnerable and then receive vulnerability in return has been exponential. Because there are things I won't tell you because those are my barriers. But within that, I'm happy to be vulnerable. And then that really engages my inner 5. And as long as they're there, they're the people I can have a conversation with because we've broken that vulnerability barrier, and they're there for me, and that they are genuinely my greatest buffer.
So if you created a WhatsApp group with your inner 5, that would be an
well,
effective
maybe,
process.
right? Because this is where human
not all at the
behaviour is
same time.
interesting.
Or they don't know each other. They know different facets
Correct.
of your personality.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll talk
Like
to my wife
your
about a few, majority of things. But if I have work frustrations, I've probably got a workmate who I'll talk to deeply about work frustrations and ultimately the impact on my mental health and well-being, although I won't say that, right? Like it is having an impact. There's probably someone I talk to about my relationship with my wife and all these other things, right? Like they're different people for different things, which is why you need 5. And so bring them all together, not really necessary, but just ensure that you're connecting with them.
So Tim's number's 5.
Tim's number's 5.
Well, Dunbar's number's 5.
Oh, so he's saying that. So I got to look at the circle.
Well,
diagram.
we've only really
Yeah,
ever
we've
talked
only
about
really-
Dunbar's number at
Number.
the 120, the large
Maximum
group.
singular
The
noun.
one
Yeah.
So maybe we need to do some more looking into all of his research.
It'll come up on this screen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we might have the ability to do that now.
So it's 5, 15 is the next one out. And
That's like friendly.
so closest friends or intimate relationships, then good friends, then friends, and then associates.
Yeah.
And then enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. That's just me.
And remember that Claude and ChatGPT are a tool. They are not a person.
They're not
they're a
people.
tool.
They don't
that
sit in
exist
those circles.
They're not in the circle.
But the role that each of those play, if you extrapolate that out, right, is significantly different.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fascinating from a tech perspective as well. Like, what are you building? Who is it for? What is their relationship to you? And therefore, how are you connecting with them? Is fascinating. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do more research. Well, I'm going to bring us to a close and thank you, Tim, And I think we're all very grateful to now be, at very least, within your group of associates.
Yeah, 150
Or
baby.
enemies. He didn't say there wasn't a sixth circle.
Wait until the edit comes out and
Yeah.
you'll decide.
Yeah, I'm going to invite you over for a pot of food.